That's okay.
Come on, bro.
All right.
921. Let's do it.
All right. Let's see how it is. What's going on, guys? It is your boy Forte, and we are here on DPS Podcast episode 27. And I got my man Slomobackslap here with me. I also got my homeboy Leviathan Gamer joining us. What's going on, guys? He was here on Brap the last couple days ago, and it's been an amazing week. A lot of stuff been happening inside of the community, and we want to talk about all that stuff. But I'm going to turn it over to my boy Slomo. Slomo, what's been going on with you? How you been over the course of the last week? Feel like I haven't talked to you in 2 weeks, but what's been going on with you?
I've been doing pretty good. Like I've been in the past week, I've, got the podcast going on time and didn't have any issues or hitches when I did it. And,
7. First time ever.
just, hey, yeah, first time ever for me too. Just throwing it out there because you always give me the slander whenever like I was having a technical issue before. Just wanted to,
Mm.
throw that a little bit back at you. But things have been good. I've been, of course, playing my games as usual. We can get into that which games we've been playing in a little bit, but I've been good. Today's been very very busy, but I'm hanging in there. How about you, man?
Man, I've been good, man. Just, family stuff over the course of the last week and just trying to figure out life stuff. That's pretty much it for me. Been playing a little bit of other different games. I played like a couple hours of Octopath Traveler over the last well, I can't even say few days. It literally came out this morning. So I've been doing that, and outside of that, just what do they always call it? Mental mental stability and taking care of yourself. That's pretty much all I've been doing. But
Yeah,
you know how
but
that
yeah,
is.
just real quick. Well, one, I haven't got a chance to play Octopath Traveler yet.
You
I
should.
downloaded it, and today's just been too much for me to be able to do that. But wanted to introduce our guest here. Leviathan Gamer in the house. Welcome to DPS Podcast. That's damage per second, sir. How's it going, man?
Going pretty good, actually. Also, very busy day for me personally, but
Okay.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
definitely
Oh,
be,
go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm definitely excited to be here to talk about some of the latest things going on, especially around Xbox. So,
Yes, definitely. We definitely got to do it. I want to shout out some people in the chat real quick. We got the very first person here back from the dead one. What's up, man? How's it going, bro? Thank you for being here before we were supposed to get started and waiting for us for 20 minutes. I appreciate you, bro. Spider 13 was good. A Rodimus in the house. Replicant Racer is in the house. What's up, man? Mitchy dies a lot. Thanks for coming back, bro. We got who else we got here? We got the Ashen Luca. The Ashen Luca is here. What's up, Luca? Joshua, what's going on? And Talus. Thank you guys for rocking out with us. I know we're going to have plenty more people coming through as the night goes on. But um, I guess we could try to get it through some of these little smaller topics before we get into like the big juicy stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, the biggest thing is, Xbox has just been killing it over the last few weeks. Ever since
Mm-hmm.
ever since the announcement of the merger or the acquisition with Bethesda, it just seems like a lot of stuff has just been coming out. That's just nothing but great news for people that are enjoying their Xboxes or just a part of the Xbox ecosystem. And one thing that actually came up over the course of the last week was the fact that Tom Warren, one of he's actually inside of the skip ahead alpha ring, which is, if you don't know, basically testing new features that are coming to the Xbox in the near future. And it looks like they changed a lot of some of the UI stuff when it comes to like how Xbox Live is presented inside of the system itself. And Slomo, what did you take from some of the stuff that he said? What did he actually tweet about? Did you see it?
I did not see it. I did see some of the discourse about Xbox Live, the party chat paywall going away. which is it was definitely good. I felt like that was well long overdue. Um, I did see something about that, but I don't know. I didn't see anything about what you were talking about. Could you expound on
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So he tweeted out the fact that Xbox Live, normally when you upload your game clips or you're uploading pictures and stuff, it always says that you're uploading to the Xbox Live network or Xbox Live in general.
Hmm.
Now, whenever you go on your system, and like I said, this won't be on anybody else's system. It's only if you're in an alpha skip ahead ring because it's being beta tested there.
Hmm.
It shows Xbox Network now. It doesn't say Xbox Live.
Oh, so all the changes
There,
now have already kind of been, but well, it's for those who are in the alpha phase of beta testing for the final release. It's already
it's
showing
already
there.
taken place and changed for them. And a lot of people were wondering, is this something that's really going to happen? Because, Xbox Live has been this iconic thing ever since 2001. It's like the first, online ecosystem that, on console at least, where gamers just literally can, do anything they want to do when it comes to like, playing against each other. It's like the model when it comes to online gameplay. I know PC people are going to say, well, we always had something like that available on PC, but for console, this was something that was huge. And a lot of people are thinking like this is like a debranding of Xbox Live. Like, they're taking something away, even knowing Xbox Live will still be there. They did come out and say that, they actually did confirm that this is actually a change too. Aaron Greenberg tweeted out talking about that this is actually something that is going to happen. It's just in the phases of them testing everything out to make sure nothing breaks on the back end. But overall, yeah, Xbox Live is not going to be a focal point when it comes to on your system. The only places you'll see Xbox Live is when you go to the store to buy Xbox Live memberships or upgrade or renew your membership.
For
For
now,
now, exactly. For
as those
now,
cards get out of circulation, then you won't see it anymore. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, I there were people who were definitely wondering like why did this need to be beta tested, and just like I'm not a database administrator, although I work with some database administrators in my role, in my job. I'm a network engineer, but just knowing what they go through in regards to making any kind of change to accounts, how your account interfaces with a network, it's going to be in situations where you need to test this out before it goes live. You need to be able to make sure that, say, changing something that is allowed in one kind of account does not break things for the other kinds of accounts, like the gold accounts or the rest of the silver accounts. It's a lot more than just clicking a button. It's never as simple as just clicking a button. So that's something that I think people need to understand, and also the reason why they are also kind of like haven't quite did the whole free to play games are free on on Xbox Live yet, especially when if you built your network with the understanding that you would never make these kind of changes.
right,
It's almost similar to how when Sony with PSN had to change the PSN IDs, and it was extremely difficult for them to do that. But if you look at other like Xbox Live, for example, other networks, that's a non-issue. Changing your gamer tag is nothing. It's simple.
right,
But for Sony, it was very difficult because the way they had set up PSN from the very start, the very foundation of it was centered around their database finding your account based off of your PSN ID.
right.
So they had to completely change how all that stuff was being done, and that's not going to be something that can happen overnight. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of talking. Leviathan, what do you think
Yeah, that's
about
what I was
this,
gonna
man?
say. Yeah, Leviathan, you play the Xbox ecosystem and stuff too. How long you been a part of Xbox Live as a part of the service?
Probably most of my life, maybe 15, 16 years.
Yeah, since like 2002, 2003. So what do you think about just the rebranding of it?
2005. But
2005.
yeah,
Yeah, what was the game that got you into Xbox Live?
Halo 2.
Yeah, that's pretty much a big one for everybody. Halo 2,
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, everybody pretty much jumped in when Halo 2 came out on the original, right towards the end of the original Xbox, and Halo 3 just kind of just took it to a whole nother level. So what is your thought process on what, first of all, yeah, how do you feel about it? And then what is your thought process on why they're actually making this change?
Well, it's the same reason that they tried raising the price for Xbox Live Gold is they want to transition to Xbox Game Pass or its free to play features.
Right.
They want to take out that middle layer, which they've been slowly moving towards. So they were trying to push the price of Xbox Live Gold up to Game Pass prices so that they could ease that transition. But now they're holding off on that, but they're showing all the signs that they want to take out just paying for online services. So that's partially what's reflective in changing the name to Xbox Network, is because Xbox Live was their features and they want to expand the feature set that it has in order to support this transition. So
Yeah. So, do you think that the raising of the price to essentially make it the same price as regular Game Pass for a year, do you think that was their way of trying to force people off of Xbox Live and get them onto Game Pass? They're like, hey, look, you're not getting. We just doubled the price of this. You're not getting anything new. You're not getting anything different from this. It's essentially the same thing that it was before, and you you could get Game Pass for the same price and get all these extra games. And then, games with gold isn't really hitting like that like it used to be either. So, like, what's the purpose of staying here if you're going to be having to deal with this kind of price? Was that something that you thought they were trying to do as well?
yeah, that's exactly what they were thinking. Because by forcing people to switch from Xbox Live Gold to Game Pass, like people don't like when services get canceled that they're still using. So just canceling Xbox Live Gold and say, okay, you have to switch to Game Pass now. They were trying to ease that transition because if you choose to stop using a service, you're more receptive of canceling a service you no longer use. So that's what they're trying to do. So that they didn't get the backlash from closing Xbox Live Gold for good in like 2 years when they'd have actually finished that transition.
Well, I thought that. Well, I guess I was about to say what may have been a better way of doing it, but now that I think about it, it really isn't. It would have been to just kind of transition people into it, because kind of like how you see what, say, EA Play, for example. If you had EA Play before it became a part of Game Pass, then what would happen is the EA would just send you an email saying, we have discontinued your subscription because you have Game Pass. So now you get it from Game Pass and you're all set from here. And that's fine for that. But then when Game Pass is $120 a year, but Xbox Live is $60 a year. You can't really say, "Hey, we're transitioning you into spending more money." Like that, it's a choice that like the customer has to make. You can't just make it for them, even though it's a good deal compared to what you were getting before, and you're going to be getting everything that you had with Xbox Live within Game Pass. You can't just be like, yeah, so we unilaterally made this decision to 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 give you Game Pass. Congratulations! Now you gotta pay like double a year what you were paying before. Even though it's a good deal, you can't really actually do that to a customer without there being some issues. And the backlash of what they did, I think it was deserved. I mean, the community came together. Literally every corner of the community was like, "Yo, you really can't just."
Okay, I'll be
Double
back in
this.
a second.
Oh, no problem. Double this with no heads up, no warning, and really no benefit to it being doubled. Literally, the
Hmm.
service itself gave zero benefit for you to do that kind of price increase. So, all that said,
I
the
mean,
only way.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, finish your thought.
No, yeah, the only way, the only reason why you would do this is that you have something that you want people to transition to, and you want to get as many people off of this as possible. I don't want you to use this anymore. I'm gonna make it I'm gonna make it expensive for you to use it, and I'm not gonna give you any benefit to actually doing so. What are you gonna do now?
Mm.
Of course, people are gonna be like, "Well, I'm either not going to use any of your services, or I'm going to go to Game Pass," and that's really kind of like, I think, the
All that
reason why
said,
they looked at it. It was like, okay, we getting tons of backlash, and people are so angry. What if they don't go to Game Pass? What if they just don't mess with us anymore, period? Because they're that angry.
right?
Then you kind of create a different situation where it's like, you know what? No, this was not a good idea at all. We're gonna have to change gears on that. I mean, and they did that within like 24 hours, which is good.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That was the thing for me. It's just a lot of different things that they're trying to do. I think a lot of people just look at it as Xbox is just trying to do this massive sweep of all of their services, and with the idea of combining a lot of them all together. And I think that's where the whole network part comes into it. So it doesn't really surprise me that they're actually doing it. But this just basically all but confirms. I mean, until we hear it actually happen, you're just basically going to play the waiting game. But this just means that Xbox Live in its current form, at some point, is not going to exist the way it is. It won't exist as an entity by itself. It might exist in a way that you can actually tie it into, like it's already tied into Game Pass. They already, and we're going to talk about that next, they already talked about how it's going to be affected when it comes to free to play, which I think is an amazing thing that they're actually doing, on top of some other stuff they're doing when it comes to parties. But it's all good. Everything is what it should be around Xbox. But I think the one thing that's really bothering some people, and I kind of get it, Xbox Live has always been that thing that people kind of, come around to. Is like, most of the people that I know, half my friends list are people I met on Xbox Live. And I know when people kind of, think about their experiences on Xbox, it's not really just that it was Xbox. It was more of, Halo, and the ability to play with my friends on Xbox Live is the things that kind of, brung everything together. So,
yeah, we lost Leviathan there for a second. I guess he's going to try to get back in as soon as he can. But no, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think the rebrand is kind of necessary. I think that, give it like 2 years,
right.
because it's a slow process when you've had a particular kind of service for 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
Give it 2 years, we will not have anyone that is strictly just, all I have is Xbox Live. Like, the service won't exist without it being connected to something else. Kind of like xCloud. Like, no one just has xCloud. You have xCloud because you got Game Pass Ultimate. It's a part of that. And so Xbox Live will essentially be that at some point, where it's just something that you have in connection to the other services that they provide.
Right.
And I know there's some people that feel some kind of way about it, like, oh, I'm about to get on Enrique. I
Oh,
was
here
an
we go.
Xbox Live beta tester. I beta tested all of the games for them back in the day.
Oh, Lord.
It's just, and I feel some kind of way about not being able to call it Xbox Live. Look, there's guys like that. I get it. It's nostalgia. It's a mindset. It's what you've always called it. But eventually, you'll get over it. Like, you'll when Xbox Live, the name is officially discontinued. And by the way, are you guys playing on easy?
No, this isn't easy. I wish
Because
this
I
was.
mean, I just saw Rand just go to the hoop with zero defense. It's like, this is you,
Well, it is
Rand and Dealer.
Yeah, me, Rand and Dealer,
playing.
play
Yeah,
NBA.
I just
It's
I'm just
actually,
like,
yo, I'm not
There's
gonna
like
lie.
no defense from, I know this is the Miami Heat, so of
That's
course
what I'm
there's no
saying. It's the
defense.
Miami Heat.
But like,
It's the
but no,
Miami
like
Heat.
there's just like
It's
no
the
defense there
all-star.
whatsoever.
It's the all-star, like the all Miami Heat team. And look, listen, even though they got some good players on that team, you see LeBron out there making us all look bad. We all here trying to like, yo, who the hell is gonna cover LeBron James? Oh
But no,
man, it was fun.
now, yeah, I just think that at some point that we will just get over it. Like you'll be speaking about Xbox Live and then have to correct yourself and say Xbox Network. It's
Yeah.
the same thing that it was with like the Xbox Series consoles. Everyone was concerned. Oh, I don't know. People will get confused and yada yada yada. And then like even we were on podcasts, we would meant to talk about the Xbox Series S or the
Mm-hmm.
Xbox One X or the Xbox One S, and you end up saying the wrong name. It's just like, man, why did they do this? But now, does anyone get confused anymore? Does anyone confuse the names of what you're talking about? Specifically when you say Xbox Series S, that you know exactly which SKU this is. It's the little white one that looks like you could throw in your backpack that people tend to not care as much about, and it seems to be the only next gen console readily available at any retailer that you're looking for. So you know which one it is, and it just comes with just being a little bit more familiar, just
Mm-hmm.
getting used to a different change. So we all got to get used to change, man. It is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. So, what do you think about? I mean, we're going to touch on the other part, the thing that we talked about that happened with Xbox too. Xbox Live basically making it so free to play games, which is one of the biggest bugaboos for them inside the community. The fact that PlayStation allows you to be able to play any free to play game without having to have PSN or anything or PlayStation Plus, giving you the ability to do that. But now it looks like Xbox is finally pulling the wool off of that. They're basically saying, "Yo, you guys are going to be able to play games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Warzone. You're going to be able to play that stuff without having to have an Xbox Live membership. And on top of that, they're opening up the party system." So that won't have to be affected by you having Xbox Live too. First of all, how shocked were you is that this happened? And second of all, what do you think this is going to mean for Xbox going forward when it comes to the free to play market?
Well, it's something that I have been saying for years that they should do. Like that paywall for free to play games was ridiculous, and they were literally the only platform that was doing it. So shocked that they were. So I had already kind of heard that they were planning on doing this because Halo Infinite's multiplayer is going to be free. Well, at least that's what is rumored. I think is that Halo Infinite's multiplayer will be free, and so that they were going to drop the paywall right around the time of Halo Infinite releasing. And so I wasn't too surprised when they came out with it. I think they said it when they said it because they wanted to kind of give like an olive branch to the community after the whole doubling of Xbox Live annual price. But yeah, I wasn't really shocked at all that was something they were doing. I kind of figured that was going to be in the works anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall it really just came as a shock to a lot of people inside the community. And I mean, with good attentions, I think nobody should be upset that this is happening. I think everybody is going to basically say, "I can't believe that Xbox finally made the decision to actually do this." And as you can see, I think it's going to benefit them 100% in the future because people are going to want to play on Xbox a little bit more. They're going to want to be a part of that ecosystem because they know that Xbox is actually taking that paywall away. Now, how impactful that's going to be in the near future, who knows? It's not available as of yet. They're basically beta testing this right now, and I saw a couple of really funny tweets from people saying, all you got to do is just turn it off. Why do we have to beta test, making games free to play on Xbox, which
Yeah. I was saying that earlier that like it's just really not that simple.
yeah,
It's
it's not.
never that simple when you're dealing with database administration. It's just there's so much that goes into making sure that certain things aren't broken and that things are implemented correctly. Like here's a great example. Like 2 weeks ago, I'm not going into specifics with my job, but just
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I got to do like on my team. He's a database administrator for our department. He made a proprietary ticketing system, trouble ticketing system for the knock, so that they could create trouble tickets, and it was designed specifically around their needs, not something that we got third party that we would uh try to manage it the way that we needed to be. So he created that. The knock manager comes to him and he's just like, hey, we need you to add this other column, and a whole different section, a whole different kind of ticket to be made, specifically for a certain kind of problem. Can you get that done by tomorrow? And he's just
Right.
looking at him like, nah, man, that's not gonna be done by tomorrow.
Not the way they want it to be done.
Yeah, it's not just I put the name of the new issue and create break out all the other sub issues that may come with it, and then the new solutions that will come with that, and then have all that done for you within the same day. Like, I gotta implement those things, test it, make sure it works, and then I'll also make it live so that your people can actually use it and there isn't any problems. You're not becoming my beta tester for me. So it's just it's things like that people on the outside don't really understand, because it's nothing against them. It's just that you don't have any experience in this work arena. So there's of course going to be things that you don't understand and don't see that why it's not as simple as it may seem.
Right. Um, yeah, here's the actual tweet on the screen right now. It's from Xbox Insider, which isn't affiliated with Xbox, but they just follow a lot of stuff Xbox does. It says Xbox insiders in Alpha skip ahead and Alpha today will are flighting some new features, multiplayer and free to play games, looking for group and party chat on Xbox no longer requires an Xbox Live Gold membership, as we flight and test these service changes ahead of general availability. So yeah, even the looking for group, I didn't even know the looking for group thing was locked behind Xbox Live Gold. I didn't know that. But Leviathan, welcome back, sir. Sorry you had some issues getting back in. You probably been listening to this in the background. What do you think about the whole free to play Xbox Live, party chat, and looking for group all being basically made available to anybody that has an Xbox going forward, as long as they have an internet connection to their system?
I think it's a great thing, especially so I come from the Halo community specifically, and as many barriers as you have to getting someone to play your multiplayer game is automatically a bad thing. So by bringing down those barriers, it allows games like Halo Infinite to find easier success because there's no longer a paywall into getting into the game. You can just play it for free, actually for free now. So I'm very positive on the change.
Yep. Also, I
No, go
kind of
ahead.
wanted to get into something that something that you and I discussed a little bit earlier, but some anonymous that brought up in the chat.
Okay.
In regards to the tweet from Xbox Korea. Did you, Leviathan? Did you see that tweet about the Square Enix games? 6 more Square Enix games coming into Game Pass soon.
No, I didn't actually see that tweet. Give me a second.
Yeah, yeah. There that tweet is maybe I'll try to find it, but yeah, essentially there is an announcement really soon that 6 more games that Square Enix publishes will be in Game Pass. And what the cool thing about that is that's 6 more games that people didn't think that were going to be there, are definitely going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm fairly certain that one of those games is definitely Marvel's Avengers. If you think about how Destiny has enjoyed an increase in its average size of its community since it's been in Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
You got Square Enix, same publisher, who decided to launch another looter shooter, Outriders, day and date in Game Pass. And you look at where Avengers is right now, a disappointment sales wise. I don't, yeah, actually, it was a disappointment in sales, a disappointment in that it's a looter shooter and requires a, a large community consistently playing the game in order for it to be considered to be successful, and it doesn't have that already. After their most recent update that introduced Hawkeye into the game, they said that the player numbers are back down to the pre-expansion levels. So it's essentially done nothing. It was a blip, and then now they're back to where they are. Putting the game in Game Pass is going to allow people who have clearly just said, "Nope, I'm not trying it," to actually give the game a shot because they're already subscribed to Game Pass and like, hey, why not? And I think that might actually help the game out a little bit, because especially considering that campaign is really good. But there's that. I think Final Fantasy 7 Remake is definitely going to be in there. Final Fantasy 7 Remake is definitely going to be, and if you think about when they're making this announcement, and you think about that in another 2 weeks, the timed exclusivity period with Sony for Final Fantasy 7 Remake, the base game, will be up. It's like a no-brainer. The game's going to be announced. And I initially I just thought it's going to Xbox. Well, of course it's going to Xbox
Right.
when this is up. But with 6 games going into Game Pass, and then the kind of confidence they had in it to put Outriders there in their day and date, yeah, I think we're going to see Final Fantasy 7 Remake in Game Pass, especially when you think about Sony wouldn't put it on um, PS Plus for next month too. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's them. They know it's going to Game Pass. So they said, you know what? We want to make sure that anyone who has a PlayStation doesn't feel the need to go get that game on that other platform, because we gave it to you essentially for no additional charge with your PlayStation Plus subscription.
Mm.
Now the other games, they got no idea. Those other
Another
4 games.
game.
I mean, what else could there be? I guess Final Fantasy 14, because that's the only Final Fantasy I can think of that still isn't on Xbox. But that's just 3 games. Like, what else could there be after that? I'm not sure.
I, now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe one of the Final Fantasies that is already on Xbox isn't in Game Pass. I want to say that's Final Fantasy
12?
10.
Oh,
I,
10? Okay, 10 isn't? Okay. But
yes,
that could be it. Yeah.
yeah, that could just be one of them because that's a pretty big game that they could slide in there, especially if they decide to put Final Fantasy 7 Remake in there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the rest of the Final Fantasies are in there, like the
Actually,
original
wait a
7, 8 is in there, 9, 12. I think actually 12 is already in there because I remember it went in like a month or two ago. I downloaded it and played it for like a little bit before uninstalling. So I know 12 is in there. 13 might be in there too. I'm not quite sure. Maybe someone in the chat. Wait, we got Aradimus in the chat. Thanks, man. He said 10, 13, and 14 are not in Game Pass. So yeah, look, we could get those 3 into Game Pass. You include Avengers, you include Remake, and that's 5. And then maybe say like they brought back Shadow the Tomb Raider or something. I know Shadow the Tomb Raider used to be in Game Pass before, but maybe they put that back in there or something. I don't know.
I mean,
Also, 10 has its 20th anniversary this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to remaster their existing remaster for the new consoles, because that's something that I could see Square doing.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Forte, what do you think? Who do you think is going to be in there?
that's a, I don't know, but that's such a, that's a good question. Because there's so many different ways they can go with that. Who did you say, Slomo?
I think it's Avengers, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, probably Shadow the Tomb Raider again, and then Final Fantasy 10, 13, and 14.
I Gary, I can see Marvel being in there for sure, because that thing's on life support as it is right now, and if Game Pass can't save it, it ain't gonna be good. But I also just think in general, the Tomb Raider games, yeah, those make sense because they were already there. So I do agree with you on that. Final Fantasy VII remake, man, that would be how much of a slap in the face would that be to people that? Well, I guess they played it a year early, so they really ain't got nothing.
Slap in the face. You the benefit to Sony doing the timed exclusive for that was that
they got to play it a year early. A year earlier.
Yeah. You got to play it when no one else could on any other platform. So
yeah, would you get the because who would you actually get the upgrade though? Like the Xbox Series X upgrade day one? If they did it would that be exclusive to PS5?
Nah, you can't.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. They can do
next gen features.
They don't have to release the next gen features on.
Well, look, the game never came out on the Xbox One. So, like, why would you give?
Well, I'm not saying they would do it. I'm just saying I'm just trying to think in my mind because there's a lot of people that's talking about how there's for the exclusivity of Final Fantasy VII, some people are saying that the franchise, the whole remake might be exclusive to them, depending on what Sony's actually negotiating in the background.
I don't think
it would happen because I think Sony I think Xbox and Square have a really, really good working relationship right now. That doesn't mean that Square wouldn't be down to actually do something like that, because guess what? Square is in it to make money too. And if they can make money by just putting it on multiple platforms and still giving Sony like exclusivity to the next version of Final Fantasy when they do release it on a console, I think that would be a really, really good move too. But yeah, how many games? Because it's like 8 games, isn't it?
It is 6 games.
6 games, and that's not counting Outriders, is that counting Outriders?
That's not counting Outriders. These are 6 games that haven't been announced yet. They said the announcement is coming soon. The Outriders has already been announced, so Outriders wouldn't be a part of that set.
Yeah, so and these are, they didn't give any instance on or any clue on that these are current games that are already on the market and stuff.
Nope, just Square Enix games.
Just Square. So we could be getting games that we don't even know about.
It could be Chrono Trigger.
Right, exactly. Which you would lose your mind.
Well, I already own Chrono Trigger on everything that I could possibly own.
Well, it's not available on Xbox yet.
That's everything that I possibly have. I don't have the actual like console anymore. I got my PC is my access to all those.
Your
games.
PC is your platform of choice.
Yeah, but like I also have I bought Chrono Trigger through Steam. So unless this was like some kind of like the way they did with Nier Automata, where it's the version that went to Game Pass is the Become as Gods version, which is superior to the version that's on Steam, then I would be like, then I might go ahead and jump on that version, actually just outright buy it and use the 20% off discount with Game Pass in order to get it, because why not at that point? That's it's a cheaper cost and it's a better version of the game. But I doubt it. I doubt it's Chrono Trigger. It's likely going to be something. It'll be like half of it is older games that have already come out, and then the other half would be stuff that is like fairly recent, I think.
Right. No, I think the same thing. I just think overall the partnership is alive and well. Square has basically played both sides of the fence when it comes to both of these companies. They're basically giving the benefits to both sides, and that's a good business move and good business decisions and acumen by them. I just think that Xbox just needs to make sure that when it comes to like a lot of these games coming out, that they don't let another Final Fantasy VII remake possibly happen. Not saying that it was a good or a bad thing, because if you had a PlayStation, you were able to play those games. But, if you're on Xbox or PC for the last year, you pretty much either had to go out and spend $400 to $500 on the system to get it, which is basically the reason that Sony made that deal in the first place. Or, you know, you just wait like a lot of people in the community did, you know, unlike Slomo, because Slomo said he don't wait to play games. So he didn't wait.
Have and never will.
He ain't,
Look,
but then again, he's waiting for a lot of Switch games because he's like, I just don't want to. He wanted to play Octopath. He wanted to play Octopath Traveler, but you know, he got rid of his Switch.
That was a backlog thing. That's that's a choice at that point because I own the game. So for me, it was like, well, yeah, I'm waiting.
What's going on, indie gamer?
When I want to play it. No, like this, yeah, I don't wait to play games. I even actually kind of think that the remake integrate with Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII. I do think that is likely a 1-year exclusive deal for PlayStation as well. So more than likely, we're going to get the announcement from Square Enix that the base game is going to be available on PC and Xbox pretty soon. And then it may be available right away, or it may be available like they give a release date like June or July or something like that. But then Integrate won't be announced, and then we won't hear anything about Integrate until like 2022, and then it'll be like pretty much the same thing, and then people will start to get the understand the flow of how this is going to go with these remake parts. Unfortunately,
that had me think of something very good actually. Is so they decided to break. So they did an interview and it confused a shit ton of people where they were explaining that they didn't like originally the Yuffie DLC wasn't supposed to be DLC. It was supposed to be in the definitive PS5 version of the game. But they had to break it up because they wanted to give the integrate upgrade for free. So maybe they're split because of that, because the DLC itself will be a 1-year exclusive. Because obviously, you got to give PC gamers extra settings above console, right? Otherwise,
right,
you got to.
Yeah, of course.
The only way to live.
I didn't spend $1,500 to $2,000 on my rig not to be able to play with settings for 45 minutes before playing the game.
That's true.
It is.
That's true. That's true.
Yep.
He ain't lying. Question.
But
go ahead. No, you about to say something else about it?
No, I was just gonna
Because I'm about to transition this.
Yeah. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No. So yeah, the great discussion. So Xbox has been doing a lot of freaking things, and the funny thing is that wasn't only things they did, because as you can see in the topic rundown, the second thing is, will Xbox buy Discord? And for the people that don't know, which everybody should know at this point, especially if you're watching this podcast, Discord is one of the biggest communication platforms that's available on the PC platform. And Xbox, this isn't the first time Xbox has been interested in buying Discord. I remember back in 2019 where a lot of rumblings about Xbox and Discord becoming united was a thing. And then you also have the partnership that Discord has with Xbox when it comes to Xbox Game Pass, where you our new subscription owners can get 3 months of Discord Nitro, which is their premium service, which gives you the ability to upload bigger files. You get better bit rates for streaming. It gives you a whole lot of better audio settings. So it gives you a lot of cool things you get inside of that partnership for 3 months with Xbox. And it looks like Discord is actually looking at trying to be purchased, but there's also some other things in the background when it comes to like them looking at becoming an IPO. Maybe they could just be trying to get value and see what the value of their company is. So I definitely want to bring that to you guys, and I start with Leviathan. So once again, Xbox making a lot of moves. We don't know exactly how interested they are, but it looks like to the tune of $10 billion means they're really interested, if that's the actual case number. What do you actually think about this?
I think he is muted. He may have had to take care of something real quick.
All right, well, Slomo, same thing to you, because I should have just went to you first because I feel bad now. Slomo, what do you think about this?
No, it's no problem at all. I think a lot of people are, and it's understandable. A lot of people are thinking about Skype when they hear of things like them acquiring Discord. I do think it's a little bit of a different, it's a different regime. Not even a little bit, definitely a different regime than the regime that allowed Skype to be the way Skype is. Does it doesn't mean that it can't happen, because of course the Nadella regime has presided over Skype, and Skype really hasn't gotten any better since the transition either way. But I think they got different plans for Discord than and different plans for what they want to do with it than what they were trying to do with Skype. Although they are both very similar kind of applications that I think their mindset and what they can do with it going forward is going to be different. What I would love to see is that some of the Xbox related services that don't work very well, like for example the mobile phone Xbox apps, party chat, it's awful.
What's terrible?
The Yeah, the Xbox app on PC itself, terrible. I know the game bar has gotten better, but it would be great if, because like the Discord app program on PC is amazing. It's its best implementation is awesome. Allow them to get their hands on your Xbox app, and maybe in regards to some of the issues that they're having with the, say, the Microsoft Store and other things, might actually start to work a little bit better. I think, and I know a lot of people have been trying to discuss why the Xbox Game Pass, not Xbox, but the PC Game Pass does not get the same games that the Xbox Game Pass gets. And some of it is preference, because some of those games are not necessarily games that PC gamers will play, and vice versa, like RTS games on console. But the majority of it, I think, really is that the Microsoft Store is so abysmal that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of publishers and developers don't even put games on it. They don't even attempt it. They just put games on Epic Game Store, GOG, Steam, like your other relevant storefronts on PC. They completely skip over the Microsoft Store, and even their own games at times. The Master Chief Collection, for example, run like more stable and less issues if you bought it off of Steam than if you got it from Xbox Game Pass in the Microsoft Store. So it's just that should never happen. Like,
Right.
your game should never be better ran on someone else's platform. Now, there's a couple of ways they could tackle this. They could have Discord try to fix these issues for them, or they could go a more administrative route and actually try to get Game Pass onto Steam. And if you do that, then you may have the opportunity to get more games into PC Game Pass, because then people can just access it through Steam instead of actually doing it through the Microsoft Store. But I don't know. Uh, it would be something that we'll have to see. I did see something recently that said that Microsoft is now in exclusive talks with Discord in regards to being acquired. And I still think that this might still be just them trying to see what they're valued at before they go public. It's definitely a possibility, but we'll have to see. What do you think, man?
No, I think about the same thing. One thing that I do think, I think a lot of people are kind of missing the boat on that, is this could be a two-prong move where it can definitely benefit the Xbox ecosystem and just the Xbox network in general. Think about if Xbox Game Pass does end up on other platforms like Xbox does, like Nintendo Switch and PlayStation and stuff like that. If they have something like Discord, Discord could become the universal communication device for just anybody that's in that ecosystem. They could tie it as part of Game Pass and say, hey, as long as you have Game Pass, you can have Discord on your Nintendo Switch, and you can communicate and be in parties with your friends that are on other platforms, pretty much just like they do with the PC platform now. When it comes to Xbox Live, you can literally jump on the platform and still talk to your friends there. That could be something that they could definitely integrate in, and it would actually probably be a better solution than the party systems that they have now. Because I mean, Slomo, I talk to you a lot when it comes to playing games and stuff on Xbox, and you got to use the Xbox app, and half the time you can't even use it. When it comes to like the party chat system. So I think gamers are very accustomed to what Discord is. And I think you can't really put a price on that. I think people see $10 billion and they're like, yo, that's like 2 or 3 studios you can buy. But when I hear them say 10 billion, you take the 10 billion and the 7.5 billion that they paid for Bethesda, $17.5 billion. That's just that's like 2 purchases, but it's all going towards the same thing. How do we make Xbox and the ecosystem of Microsoft better? And all that money, even if they're making more of it back in the Game Pass arena with Bethesda, it still all goes to the same bottom line. As long as they make that money back some way or another, they're going to be perfectly fine. And then I think people are not really thinking of the enterprise aspect of it too. They use Microsoft Teams right now, and we talked about this on Brap yesterday. Teams is a very good platform. No one will tell you it's terrible, but does it have its shortcomings? Yes, it does. Just like every other of these streaming or communication platforms out there, some just work better than others. Skype used to be king of the hill for a long time, and then you got other things that kind of takes its place and becomes more dominant. People start using it more. So I can see Discord becoming something more of a hybrid version of what Teams is. It could be like a combination of what Slack is. If anybody doesn't know what Slack is, it's a communication platform, mostly through text and everything like that. But that's a way that a lot of businesses really communicate with each other and stuff.
A lot of businesses use Slack as their basically their instant messaging platform for their company within their employees to be able to communicate to one another through group chats to discuss particular projects, or just through private chats to a particular person about, hey, did you get those TPS reports or whatever?
TPS reports.
The only thing I think Slack lacks is the conference calling.
That's what they do. That's what they do. That is what they lack. And I remember because my clan that I was in, FOF, we started on Slack, and it was mostly just pictures and communication back and forth, running clan stuff and stuff in there. And then it got to the point where we wanted to do a little bit more when it came to like sharing videos or having video conferencing and stuff like that. And Discord just happened to be a great fit for that. And I think that's something that Xbox is probably looking into. But Slomo, we also could just be completely missing the mark, and they could be just trying to pull a Roblox and say, if Roblox is worth $43 billion under their IPO, what are we actually worth? I think their cap is like 7.5 or $7 billion or something like that. So Xbox is paying a premium if this $10 billion is actually a thing that is real, which I would probably think it is, because you're not going to just give them the market value. You're going to have to pay over for that, especially since
I already think this 10 billion is a little bit over. What
it's
the market
definitely
value
over.
should be anyway, because Discord don't really make money like that. It's like everyone who uses Discord, the majority of the users, if you don't have a server, then you're just using it for free. Of course, there's Nitro that gives you a couple of features that are pretty nice that you don't get with the base version. But I mean, I don't think very many people do Nitro. If you have even if you run your own server, you don't have to spend money. There's bots you can get that are free. Although if you want the very, very best, then you're probably going to end up paying a subscription for a bot. But still, like, I don't know what the split of that money is from the developer who created the bot versus what Discord's cut of it is. Who knows? I just don't think. I think their value comes in more in what you can do with what they have as a foundation versus what they're actually bringing in, which is very different than Roblox. Because Roblox is bringing in the dough. they got them kids hooked like crackheads on them little weird games that they got in there.
Mm-hmm.
All those yeah, yeah, it's Roblox is on a whole nother level when it comes
They
to
killing
that
it,
kind of
man.
stuff.
They
Yeah.
killing it. Leviathan, you back yet?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, no problem. So what you think about the whole Xbox Discord, $10 billion, how it fits inside the Xbox ecosystem? What would they actually do for it? And is it a good move for them? What do you think about all that?
So it's obviously about more than just Xbox that they're going to buy it for, because currently, at least from a professional level, you tend to see Slack used more than Discord because of privacy
Mm-hmm.
issues.
Mm-hmm.
Because Discord records all your voice chats that you have, and they can use that for their data algorithms. So that's the main reason why in industry you don't see Discord used, particularly in the tech industry, and Slack is preferred. But obviously, the issue with that is Slack has way less features than Discord. So I have a feeling they want to integrate it with Microsoft Teams, because
Mm-hmm.
Teams Microsoft Teams is far less efficient, but is also popularly used because there is that privacy protection. So like they'd integrate maybe a version of the interface into Microsoft Teams. Like that's one of the big reasons. And then Xbox integration. That might be why they'd be willing to go as high as $10 billion, because they would want to secure that.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously Microsoft Teams got a big push because of the pandemic, but they obviously want to expand that even further than it currently is. And that'd be a great way, because Microsoft Teams already has Office integration directly. So if you could combine that, it would invalidate the usage of Slack, because then there'd be nothing that Microsoft's ecosystem does worse than Slack.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
on the Xbox side, it Discord would really help in terms of cross-platform party chat between
Yeah.
Xbox and PC.
Yes, it would.
Absolutely. Yeah, just to your point, we got our homie Sir Taz is still probably in the chat. He doesn't he game on PC at all, and a lot of times we'll play something, and we'll be maybe all playing something different, but still will be sitting in a party chat together. And typically before we would do that with Xbox Live, and some of us has transitioned over to PC gaming. We've been trying to do Discord more, and he's trying to do that on his mobile phone on Discord, and instead of like I know it would be so much easier for him if if Discord was implemented into the Xbox UI instead of, which can be spotty depending on where he is in his house and in relation to his router and all kinds of other stuff going on. It would be just easier if it would just be like, hey, like no different than doing a party chat through the Xbox on through the UI. Like that would be great.
Yeah, and it also have the benefits of, since it has that close integration with the Xbox ecosystem, when you're sending out data packets while playing a game or whatever, like
Hmm.
multiplayer game, is since it's already integrated in, it could potentially have less latency, because it's still coming from the same source. Whereas like if he's on his phone, either he's using his data, and
Mm-hmm.
data can be expensive in the US,
Oh, tell
or
me
he
about
would
it.
or he would have to be on his Wi-Fi, and the phone's going to have a different instance than the Xbox console itself. So potentially priority on the network would go to the Xbox console and all its functions, and that could incur latency or audio quality issues.
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
the spotty connection because it's a mobile device, whereas you might have your Xbox plugged into an Ethernet.
Yep, and that's always going to be a better, better for bandwidth, better for stability. Is if you're using dedicated Ethernet over like a Cat 6 cable versus versus your mobile phone. Depending on in relation to where your router is and where you are, you could be having all kinds of interference going on. That is lowering your data speed, your network speed, and as well as any other connection issues. But yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the biggest thing just comes back to the fact that Xbox is making moves. That's all you can ask for. I hear people always trying to just downplay that situation, but I don't think they really realize that, you know, the reason Xbox is doing this is because they had to, and it was also because PlayStation put them in a position where moves like this needed to happen. They needed to find a way to make their platform more appealing to gamers. They had to find a way to make people want to be a part of that ecosystem. And that's how you get, Bethesda and $7.5 billion. That's how you get free to play games on Xbox. That's how you get Square Enix looking to put more games into Game Pass, and now with the chance that Discord could become a part of that, and that's all through competition. And I think instead of people going out trying to toot their horn and say, Xbox is doing this and PlayStation is doing this, just look at like how they're pushing each other. Because guess what this is going to do? All these different moves that Xbox is doing is going to make PlayStation better. And that's what I'm looking forward to because they're already great. And I want to see exactly what the next move going to be for them when it comes to all this stuff. But that's a really, really good topic. But I definitely want to move on to something that I know Leviathan Gamer definitely wanted to talk about because it was one of the things he, when he announced he was coming to the show last week that he tweeted about. He wanted to talk about Halo Infinite and the Slit Space engine and all of the stuff that is surrounding that type of stuff. So, um, Leviathan, I'm gonna turn it over to you and like, so what's going on with Halo Infinite? What do you think about the direction that they're going in with the game? How do you think the Slit Space engine is going to actually affect this, or do you have any actual news that you heard or anything about what's going on with that engine on if this game is going to actually be ready this holiday? It seems like it will be because they're basically talking like it is, but what do you think about all that?
Well, so personally, I really like the direction they've gone with Infinite. They're basically delivering everything that I asked for, bar like one thing that I asked for, but getting like 99% of what you're asking for is always a good thing. And so the engine's not a fully new engine, it's mostly new, which m- for the most part in AAA game development, you never do this where you make a completely brand new engine. Like Unreal Engine 4 was the latest time I've ever heard of a developer. Like the last time a developer has made a completely like new engine, and maybe Frostbite the original was the last one. In general, in the game industry, you don't
Mm.
go with a fully new engine.
Yeah, you
So
usually build off of what you've already created. You just kind of upgrade certain areas and weaknesses that you have. You add in new assets that kind of make that stuff better, right?
yeah, you completely like there's different components to like rendering. Like this is our rasterization pipeline, this is our shadows, this is our reflection pipeline, this
Hmm.
is our animation pipeline, here's our level editor, and all these different components that you have. And usually during game development, when you decide to update your engine, you'd be like, okay, we want to change the CPU because we're jumping from the 360 to the Xbox One. The 360 only has 3 CPU cores or 6 threads in total, but 2 are used by the OS, so you only have 4 threads for games. And we're jumping to the Xbox One, which has 7 threads available to games. So now we can use up to 7 threads on this CPU task. So let's update and add this new capability
Mm-hmm.
to
Hmm.
this component. So these kind of upgrades are pretty common in the game industry. But what Slipspace is doing is it's going through almost the entire code base and changing everything. Like there's still some aspects that are the same as previous Halo titles. So like it's hard to like say that oh it's a completely new engine.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost essentially a completely new engine.
Mm.
So
And that does
go ahead. Go
lead to
ahead.
problems with it, like in terms of development, because there's technical issues that you have to work out. Because the more code you change, the more testing you have to do. So
Mm.
that's partially why Halo Infinite has such a long development time.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if you're, because I saw this with oh, I'm not didn't personally see it, but just heard about a lot of the development issues that BioWare was having with the Frostbite engine, when the Frostbite engine was originally designed to be a first-person shooter engine created specifically for Battlefield, and then now you're trying to use it for RPGs. There were a lot of assets that they were used to having with their Eclipse engine that they were using prior to that in Unreal Engine 3, that they had already built out, tools that they had already built out that weren't really being able to they could use in Frostbite. So they had to kind of build those things, and that kind of slowed the process up because you got one group of devs that are trying to get do actually build a game, and then you got other devs that are actually trying to build the assets to make that happen. And so it's almost kind of like you're trying to drive a train on a track that you're also laying the track down on it at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. And it's just that can slow the process up.
Yeah. And it's obviously not a fully complete engine because we could tell just from the gameplay demo they had is I can obviously tell at least from the gameplay demo. I don't know if anybody else could tell, but their entire global illumination system wasn't even there.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
do. I definitely
that was
noticed that.
very that was
I was
I think
slow mo. We
everybody
were
noticed
sitting.
that.
Listen, I was sitting in that stream, and I was like, everybody's like, "This looks weird." I was like, "Well, first of all, there's no shadows in the movie. Like, there's no shadows. Where's the lighting at?" I'm
The
like,
draw distance
"Yo,
was non-existent. Like you could actually see the detail in the grass, like coming up as let's say for example, when he jumped in the Warhog and he started driving, you could see the draw, like the detail in the grass, like coming into focus as literally as the tires were passing the grass. It was just like that. The pop in, there was a lot that gameplay demo, like the actual gameplay itself, I enjoyed and what
yep,
I was excited about, but it was the rest of it was just like, are you guys sure you're ready for this fall? Because
right."
but real quick, shout out to Blaze 4K in the house. That's the homie, yo. Blaze is my road company, my road company partner out there.
Y'all
He got the
still
$10 super chat.
no, no. Go ahead, go ahead. You can read. I was going to read, but go ahead. You got it,
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say anything. Just donated $10. I appreciate that, bro. But
Blaze. I appreciate you, bro. Tell Slow Mo to start playing Road Company because I think he quit because of all the cheating over there.
I did not quit.
When's the last time you played it?
I played Road Company Friday. Wait, no.
Wait,
I played it
Friday?
before
That's
then.
last week.
Wait, hold on. I played it Monday.
You played it Slow used to play it every day.
Well,
No matter what games you were playing, Slow-Mo, there was always a religion with you. You would play other, and it's a thing. Shout out to Slow-Mo because everybody knows Slow-Mo plays more games than I do. I cannot deny that. He plays 1,000% more games than I do. But there's always a ritual with him. He'll play 1 or 2 games during the day, and Rogue Company was his nightcap. He would stay up. He would complain about editing a video or playing Rogue Company, and he would play Rogue Company. So the fact that you went 4 days without playing that game,
I have not quit playing Road Company. I just been playing a lot of games. I'm gonna get back to it. But shout out to Arodimus with the $10 super chat. He says, "I will say something for Blaze, Xbox baby." That's it. I guess that's Blaze's little thing, PlayStation baby.
you guys are the homies, man. Appreciate the all the love and support you guys give us on the chat. And yeah, we got 67 people watching, 51 likes on it. Let's try to even those out. If you're enjoying the show, please hit the like button, sub to the channel as usual. Yeah, Slomo, go ahead and finish what you were talking about.
Well, no, we can just real quick. I did want to ask Leviathan about just overall, like his history with the technical aspect of these things, and also his history with Halo in general, because you and I have talked about how much we love Halo and how much we enjoyed the games from back in the day to going into how our experiences with the more recent ones. But I haven't really heard that from Leviathan. I haven't really heard his him talk about his experience with the game.
Yep. Before you answer that, Levi, let me get these two. Shout out to the Ashen Luca with the $5 holla. Shout out to the bot who keyed Blade's car and the idiots in Blade's mention. Shout out to Ashen Luca. We getting messy.
Blaze. Xbot keyed your car, man. That's just.
Yeah, you can't be letting these people know where you stay at, man.
Exactly.
Can't accidentally post a picture of your street sign. People know where you at. Shout out to One Bad Mother with the $5 holla. I warned you about these free aim bots that come with PC games, gaming slow-mo. Great show, friends. Thanks for checking in early. One Bad, appreciate you, man. You always do a great job. You did a great job on Brap yesterday. And we always truly appreciate you. And next time you actually want to make a trip to my store, I'm gonna make sure I'm there. And so there's that. But yeah,
we gotta get One Bad on as well.
He's a big
Halo fan too, and he does a podcast called "You Had Me at Halo." So
it's
yeah,
one of the best names out there. And they all call themselves Spartans in there. They're all Spartans. Like he's like he's like Spartan One Bad Mother, something. But oh yeah, go ahead, Slow-Mo. I probably derailed everything, so go ahead and respond to what you were saying.
It's okay. I asked the question to Leviathan. I'll go ahead, bro.
Yeah. So the first question was, I think, my background and experience with like the technical side.
Yeah.
So I've been a big gaming fan, and I've always been passionate about tech. So I went into the more of the computer hardware end, but
Mm-hmm.
that necessarily required me to, because obviously going into designing computer architectures like CPUs and GPUs, you have to learn the computer graphics end. So I had to take a bunch of classes in terms of computer graphics. So
Got you.
I actually got programming experience, some basic programming experience of like doing
What languages are you talking over there?
well C++ for video games primarily because that's the popular one.
Right.
I have a shit ton of languages that I know. Like I know Python, Java, C++, C, VHDL, Verilog. I'm trying to remember the scripting language that I know.
Yeah. Look,
Yeah.
all I've done, I've dabbled in a little C# and Python through my various titles and positions at work. But that's a lot, man. You definitely got it going on there. But my bad, I interrupted. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot. I think sophomore year of college, I had 19 credits worth of classes because I was pretty psycho back then.
I mean, were you sleeping? Because 19 credits, I think I made the max I would do was 15, but 19, that's pretty wild, man.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and each one was a lab class, and it's a programming lab class, not the like science lab class where you show up to the science lab and do a lab report. No, it's put in
Oh my
20 hours
God.
a week for each lab.
You're
So
insane.
and each one was a different programming language. So let's just say after that term, I basically slowed down like college after that because I was pretty freaking insane at that
Yeah,
point.
you would need to. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's just my technical experience with a lot of this stuff. I've also been watching Digital Foundry for about a decade, and I've been watching those channels as well. So I've seen the evolution of gaming and how they handle 3D graphics
Mm,
specifically, and I've always been passionate about how the technology evolves on both the hardware and software side. And then, so my experience with Halo is I've been playing Halo for a long time at this point. I have hundreds of days of playtime worth into Halo.
mm-hmm.
It's still primarily what I play. Like the last game I was playing was Combat Evolved multiplayer. So
What's your favorite? Okay, all right. Two questions. A two-parter. Two-parter. What's your favorite Halo campaign? And
Mm.
which Halo game had the best multiplayer to you?
so for campaign, it's either Combat Evolved or Halo 3 for me personally. Halo 2 is pretty close to those. But
Mm-hmm.
it's either Combat Evolved or 3. And then for multiplayer, Combat Evolved, no question. It takes my top spot.
Good.
And then Halo 2 and then Halo 5's multiplayer after that.
Yeah,
So
for me, Combat Evolved is my favorite campaign, and I think that might be mostly nostalgia. Even though I played through it, I played through it multiple times. Like I mean, so many times it's hard to count. But I guess it's the feeling of how of when I first played it, and it was just completely something I never kind of experienced before at that time. That still kind of just like brings it back to me every time I play through it again. So I would
Mhm.
say, yeah, Combat Evolved is probably my favorite campaign, and multiplayer, I'm gonna have to go with Combat Evolved as well. And this is, I know, like a lot of us enjoyed the Xbox Live Halo 2. The in the lobbies, you know, you're getting cussed
Mhm.
out by some 12-year-old kid. He's calling
Yep.
you every slur in the book, and your mama has done
yep.
all kinds of weird stuff, you know. And but my experience, my greater experience was getting with my friends, getting our original Xboxes, getting a Switch, and just like connecting four Xboxes and four TVs together and just do 16 on 16 like rumble matches and literally playing all together, like playing like that, like till the sun came up. We would just do that like all the time, and that was just like that kind of experience you don't really forget. So for me,
Mhm.
even though like, and my favorite map is still Hang 'em High to this day.
Oh
That
yeah,
map is
baby.
amazing. But like that those experiences, like even though I think like Halo 2's multiplayer, I think is actually like technically wise superior, but I just enjoyed that so much for me. But before I say, what about you, man?
Uh, whew. It Halo Combat Evolve, and mostly just due to it might just be to the nostalgic of it, the rose tinted glasses. It was fun running around with that hand cannon, just the three tapping people in the head. It was ridiculous. Hang 'em high, man. I knew I liked you. I knew this is why we were kindred spirits, because that's the map that I literally when I used to do tournaments and stuff back in Halo, that was the map. That was like my favorite map to go practice on, and I learned how to bait grenades off of platforms in order to get people off the top sniper perches and stuff, how to get the
Yes.
rocket to jump over the wall and come all the way to you if you threw the grenade just right where the rocket launcher was. And the same thing with the sniper. Man, I used to do all types of crazy stuff in that game, but it was nothing like being
Those OP pistols. Them
yep,
pistols were so.
man.
Oh man, like just don't mess with me with the pistol,
Don't mess
man.
with the
It's
pistol,
a
man.
wrap.
Don't mess with the pistol. But no, the game was just, it was like simplistic. It was easy for anybody to grasp, but it was a skill level that a lot of people just wasn't able to really, compete at. It was just, it was a simple thing. You didn't run, you just walked around everywhere, but just having map awareness and being able to aim was literally the thing that you had to do in that game. And that's the first time I learned how teamwork worked in a game. So that game meant a lot to me. And it did a campaign when it came to the flood. Like, that game was so diverse in a way that it hit you when it first happened. You had the fight,
the
flood part.
Plot twist.
Yeah,
like
when
that,
you stick the chip in his head, and he sees everything that's going on, and it's like all you see is the flood.
No, all the way up. No, that entire level, that
Yes.
entire mission, all the way up to that. Like, prior to that, you're thinking this is just your run of the mill. We're Marines. I'm a big soldier. I'm taking out aliens, kind of deal. Cool. Then you get to this one mission, and you're just like, wait a minute. The Covenant who are the Covenant fighting?
Right.
Like, why are their barriers all the opposite way? Why is everybody dead? Where are my soldiers at? And then you find the flood, and then it completely changed the way the game was played, because prior to that, especially, of course, we play it on the highest difficulty out here, right?
Absolutely.
So like
did you do it by yourself on the highest difficulty, though, or did you?
Course, yeah.
You did your first. You did CE under legendary the first time through by yourself.
Well, I did. First time heroic, and then I did legendary after.
Well, that's still good, because it took me probably 2 years to be able to beat that game on legendary. Because I did it with my brother on legendary, but it was like, man, legendary. It's like I have no patience, and you have to have a huge amount of patience to beat that game on legendary by yourself.
And the tactics that the Covenant used are completely different when you start messing with the flood. And for me, the library mission was the worst for me, because it was like I was so used to like fighting the Covenant that fighting my way out of there after the flood attacked, and then being in the library and being like, dude, like the times where Guilty Spark would go away, and he'd be like, I'll be back, and I'm like, you bastard. I'm about to get attacked again. I'm probably not going to survive this when I got no ammo. And it's just like, yeah, that was so awesome. It was something that I hadn't really experienced, that kind of like shift in the gameplay before. I want to get to a couple of super chats and the question we got in the chat for Leviathan. So shout out to Eagles fan 76 with a $2 super chat. He said Forte has a crazed fan show up at your store. I guess he's talking about One Bad.
He talking about One Bad. Hey man, One Bad Mother's he's the homie. But yo, I was he showed up to trade in some stuff, and I happened to go over to Target, because my store is across the street from a Target, and I was over there getting water for the store, and I didn't even know, they didn't even tell me somebody came there looking for me. So I mean, I guess I slipped through. I didn't have to deal with a crazed fan that day.
And also appreciate X Burke with the $10 Canadian. That's $10 Canadian.
Yep, $10 Canadian super holla.
Good. There's only a handful of gaming podcasts that come across as authentic. This is definitely one of them. Hey, expert,
man, I appreciate you.
Thank you. That was very, very kind of you to say, and also very true.
Hey, listen, authenticity is our middle word.
Dude, don't
shut up, Slomo.
I knew you were going to say this word, and I was just like, look, I knew you was going to like give it like
an extra verb and an extra noun.
Yeah. Now, Leviathan, the question we have for you is from Rodimus. He says, what does Leviathan Gamer think about Digital Foundry's video on Marvel Avengers debate today about not giving the PlayStation a fair shake on their review?
Okay, so I woke, so every time I wake up in the morning and I basically turn on my phone and look at Twitter, the first thing that I think, okay, what shit show happened today? So I was actually tagged in the initial post that people were like retweeting around.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, about like how Digital Foundry was dishonest, which isn't true at all. and it was already addressed in their videos. Like Alex from Digital Foundry already addressed it in his initial PlayStation 5 video, but that was like a week ago,
Mm-hmm.
and the human attention span's not that long.
Mm.
So,
Preach. Let's go.
so basically, they gave the PS5 version a fair shake in terms. The only thing that like if I was running their channel, the only thing different I would do is since I have more technical experience, I would give the theoretical performance difference between the PS5 and Series X in this specific title, and that'd be something around between 15 to 30% in favor of the Series X. It's not as much as the visual gap actually is. It's a lot smaller because this game pixel resolution is not exactly tied to performance as much as other games are.
Mm-hmm.
So it may seem like there's a massive resolution difference between the Series X and PS5 in this title. It isn't. They're pretty close. It still favors the Series X, but it's not as massive as the resolution gap would
Mm-hmm.
suggest.
Mm-hmm.
And you can solve the whole system of equations to figure that out if you really wanted to. But like you can kind of see that like the RTX 3080 can drop down into the 20s in terms of frame rate in Marvel's Avengers at 4K, which 4K 20 frames per second is not a good thing.
No,
So,
especially if you're on a PC, going under 60 is not a good thing. Like
Nope.
no PC gamer wants to play a game under 60 frames per second. Like none. They don't exist. They will much rather play a game at 1080p if that would keep the frame rate above 60. So dropping to 20, like I when I initially played Marvel's Avengers, I still had a 2070 Super at the time. And I was generally getting anywhere between like 65 to 80 frames per second, but I was playing at 1440p. And now that I have a 3070, I haven't attempted to really play it since. I did install it and then subsequently uninstalled it like a few hours later before I even booted it back up. But I imagine that my 3070 definitely performs a bit better. I think it's about like a 15% difference in performance from the 2070 Super. But it's yeah, the 3080 dropping it down to 20 at times. I can almost picture some of the parts of the campaign where that happens at, and it's not surprising at all. Yeah.
yeah. And there's other indications that there's poor optimization in terms of performance.
Okay. Oh,
Like,
sorry. Before you expound upon that, I wanted to kind of clarify when we're talking about 4K on PC, we're talking about 4K ultra settings, like the highest settings that because
yeah,
like some people will be thinking like, oh, well, I get 4K on my PS5 and my Xbox Series. Like, what's the big deal? Like your 3080 drops to 20 frames. Like your game is not running at ultra settings on your console, okay? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not what's happening on your console at all. It's like mid, some settings high, but most of them mid, sometimes low settings to get that stable frame rate or close to a stable frame rate as possible with a 4K resolution. So yeah,
and the
just want to
Series X
clarify.
drops. Yeah, and the Series X drops down to the lowest dynamic resolution is 1296p, so below 1440. That's where the Series X drops to, and that's what
Mm,
it needs to do to maintain that 60 FPS. So if the Series X has to do that, really there's not really any GPU on the market that can play Marvel's Avengers well at 4K max
Mm-hmm.
settings.
yep,
And
not yet, not yet. The 3090 still doesn't. Like the 3090 is only like a 10% difference in performance from the 3080, and that one still doesn't quite do it yet. I did hear that the RDNA 3 and I think Nvidia's next generation GPUs are architect. Was it? Is it Lovelace? Is it
yeah,
Lovelace? That
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Lovelace.
I've heard from some people who are tech YouTubers that they got sources about this stuff. They got their sources, right?
Sources.
They've said that like the performance for both architectures and both manufacturers is almost double than what they are with RDNA 2 and Ampere, which hallelujah. That'd be great.
Wouldn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Of course we gotta wait and see until it actually comes out, because then you got like maybe that's like the 4090 is double, but then the cut down card of the defective chips that then become the 4080 might be a drastic difference, or the 37 or the 4070. We don't know, but I just wanted to clarify that. My bad, man. Go ahead, Leviathan.
Okay. So the next generation AMD GPUs are switching to TSMC's 5 nanometer process node, which TSMC's 5 nanometer is even better than their 7 nanometer. Like, while they were manufacturing these consoles, if they had the supply to do these consoles on 5 nanometers, they would have
Mm-hmm.
had better yield rates and had less defective consoles at that time,
Hmm.
which this never happens. Usually it takes several years, but 5 nanometer actually outtook 7 nanometer within about a year. The issue was is supply. Only Apple had access to TSMC's 5 nanometer this year. But now
Hmm.
AMD is going to get access, and the actual number is 2.5 times, not just a 2 times increase, which that actually lines up with the transistor density increase and
Hmm.
also with AMD's internal namings, because RDNA 3 is GFX 11 or Graphics 11,
Mm-hmm.
which RDNA 1 and 2 are considered the same family by AMD. They're practically the same architecture, and
Yeah.
they are GFX 10 or Graphics 10.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big enough jump architecturally for AMD to change the numbering scheme to go from 10 to 11. And there's the TSMC 5 nanometer. And I also keep up with AMD patents. And there's a lot of patents around optimizations and getting more performance out of your hardware. Like, there's a lot. I found about a dozen or so patents regarding that. And based off of the whole like architectural process, the timing of these patents when they were filed would put them ready for a product in 2021 or 2022,
Hmm.
which would be right in time for RDNA 3. So,
Now, I wanted to ask you a question, because you mentioning that kind of brought up something to mind, to me, about in regards to uh, AMD's RDNA 2, and then also their AMD Fidelity FX, like their what they've called before super resolution, which is their equivalent to NVIDIA's DLSS, machine learning, deep learning, super sampling. Do, have you seen anything in regards to games that are using that, and the level of performance that gains that gamers can get off of the games that are currently running it? And I know like maybe some of them are running it in like beta or something like that, or maybe they're not like fully out yet with it, but my first question is like, have you seen what the performance is with it? And second question would be like, where do you think that will finally get? We start to see some results of that on the consoles.
so I've seen information about the implementation strategies. As
Mm-hmm.
far as I am aware, no developer has access because it's not really close to being completed yet at this current time. So you wouldn't effectively be able to get any good performance out of it because AMD is not done with it.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I know, developers don't have it, at least the developers I talk to.
Mm.
So, but I do know AMD's performance targets with it, and specifically AMD is targeting close to DLSS, but not exactly. Like
So they're targeting close to DLSS 2.0, right? Not 1.0. Because 1.0 was abysmal.
yeah. And
Okay.
you want to know why 1.0 was abysmal? Because it
Yeah.
doesn't use
Yeah.
any of the tensor cores. It was
Mm.
running just straight on the regular GPU hardware without any acceleration. So it was trying to run on the raw hardware, which is why it didn't have nearly as good performance. But
Mm.
2.0 now runs on the tensor cores and gets the massive speed up that it gets,
Yeah.
which
Yeah. It's a,
AMD doesn't have tensor core hardware on either the Xbox, the PlayStation, or any of their PC GPUs. So they are going to have some performance limits with it, and it's not fully using the same so what Nvidia uses is they use a 16K resolution like reference image to set the weightings of their neural network, which it appears that AMD is not going to be doing that. Like they're still going to be using a neural network weighting system, but
mhm.
it's not going to be using a 16K resolution reference of the scene that you're trying to render. So that's inherently going to limit the performance capabilities of it. And that's just to speed up because managing a 16K resolution image and all that necessary data is a lot of extra work your GPU is going to have to do. So
Mm.
without the tensor cores, this is a viable alternative to
Okay.
that. So it's not exactly the same solution as DLSS.
Yeah. Yeah. But but at matter of fact, since we brought up DLSS, there's the whole. I did a video about this yesterday. There's the whole talk of the Switch Pro, what we call Switch Pro, the new Switch. Who knows what Nintendo's going to call it? Having DLSS, and of course, their current Tegra X1 chip is not capable of doing anything remotely like that, or the 4K off of docked mode. But I was thinking, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. I was thinking that the Tegra chip that Nintendo is getting from Nvidia is likely going to be Orin, and if not Orin, because Nintendo tends to kind of like go on, not go cheap, but like try to cut costs as much as possible. Xavier, which chip do you think is going to end up being?
So let's actually talk about both of them because both are valid possibilities. It could be
Mm-hmm.
Xavier or Orion based.
Mm-hmm.
So Xavier, if the Switch Pro uses Xavier in portable mode, its performance is going to be below the current Switch's dock mode. So the new portable mode is going to be worse than the dock mode currently if they use Xavier.
But isn't docked mode currently 1080p, right?
Yes, sort of. A lot of games run, like Doom Eternal, for example, can drop down to 504p
Oh,
and it
geez.
goes up to 720p in dock mode. So a lot of Nintendo first party games are hitting 1080p in dock mode, but a lot of like the third party games like Doom Eternal or Outer Worlds are going below that in like 500p range, and then
Mm-hmm.
in portable it's going down to like 360p.
Mm.
So it
So
would be
you
kind.
think Orin definitely has to be it for them to hit the kind of targets they want to hit, guaranteed 720p on handheld, up to 4K with DLSS implementation on dock. They would have to go with Orin. They couldn't go with Xavier.
Yeah. Also, Xavier, since it's Volta and Volta has older tensor cores than
Mm-hmm.
even the RTX GPUs, its its DLSS performance is half of that of the RTX GPUs. So it would struggle more with doing that because the it still will have that performance Xavier,
Mm-hmm.
but it w- it would it would be really hard to hit that 4K target.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So Orin is more likely
Now, is
And
it possible? Is it possible they could get a custom Xavier chip that could do what they wanted it to do, but or what Xavier just would not be capable, like almost as bad as the Tegra X1, the X1 chip was. They have to go with Orin, but maybe I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here because I keep thinking about Nintendo and the way they've been a generation behind on visuals and performance for a long time, like since the GameCube, it seems. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around them potentially actually having games that perform on par with current gen or close to current gen consoles, yet at the same time on a handheld device. That's
I
just like
just
that's wild to me.
yeah,
so
yeah.
both Xavier and Orin also have, because they're intended for self-driving cars, they have custom, so they have different hardware than just the tensor cores
Mm-hmm.
for machine learning. They have their own neural like processing unit. They call it a deep learning accelerator or DLA. So they have a dedicated block for that on the chip as well, which isn't really necessary for what a gaming console would do, because you don't need that kind of dedicated machine learning hardware, like actually a full like dedicated, kind of like how a CPU and a GPU, while it has an extra NPU on those chips. So that could be an easy way for Nintendo to cut costs on Orin's architecture, is to remove that. And the just standard tensor cores will give them enough DLS as performance that they wouldn't have to worry about that.
Okay. Cool.
So that's
Yeah.
a quick cut. Orin also has 12 CPU cores, which is more than is needed for Nintendo,
Mm-hmm.
especially for a Switch Pro versus a Switch sequel, which it could still be a Switch 2, but most reports have been indicating it's a Switch Pro.
Yeah.
So
Now,
so
do you think that? So how would future games? Okay, let's say the Switch Pro is supposed to come out this fall, right, or this sometime later this year. When it comes out, there are some games. Let's say Breath of the Wild 2. Let's say Breath of the Wild 2 is fully taking advantage of the well, not fully, because I heard they just really brought dev kits out, and you know how things are. Like no developer really takes full advantage of a new SKU, right away. But let's say it's doing a lot of things that we haven't seen from a Nintendo console in a while. Would that still run? Would they kind of scale it to run on the older Nintendo Switch games and still let it be playable, or would Nintendo really paywall Breath of the Wild 2 to this
Mhm.
Switch Pro? Like, you want to play Breath of the Wild 2? You know what you got to do, buddy.
Oh man, they ain't gonna
You
do
got to
that
spend that
again.
$400 and get this Switch Pro if you want to play it.
Nah, they ain't gonna do that
Hey,
again. They better
hey,
not do that
man,
again.
look,
They did it with
this
the
is
3DS.
Nintendo.
It is
This is
Nintendo.
so look, they walk to the beat of their own drums here. So like
That's true.
I could it's
make a
possible.
transition. Like I would like them to eventually just drop the base Nintendo Switch and say, okay, it's too old hardware, games aren't coming out for it. I
Hmm.
don't think Breath of the Wild 2 is far enough in the future that that'd be a good idea. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
sure, if that's 2023 or 2024, yes, but I don't think that game is that far out. So I think Breath of the Wild 2, what they will do is, another advantage of doing Orin is the portable mode will be very close to the performance of, so an Orin portable mode would be close to the performance of the Switch dock, the base Switch. So developers could really build three profiles. the portable mode of the base Switch, and then the portable mode of the Switch Pro that's also the same as the dock Switch, and then the dock Switch that gets DLSS up to a native 4K.
Cool.
So,
Okay.
like, there's very good reason for why they would potentially pick Orin, and that's another one because you don't want to have as many profiles as possible for your consoles. So, by sharing that profile, it'll make it easier, and the performance should be exactly in the same range. So that's what it'll be. Also, AAA games that have come to the Switch are going down to 360p, right? So Nintendo basically has that buffer. Once they hit that 360p resolution, they can't really push below that. So that's what I think is going to happen to Breath of the Wild Part 2 is it's going to run like 480p on the base Switch in portable mode,
Mm.
and then maybe 720p in docked, and then on the Switch Pro it's going to be 720p docked, and then it's going to run at 1080p, but then use DLSS to go up to a native 4K from there.
You talking about when it's docked though?
Yes.
Okay,
when
yeah,
it's
because so in handheld mode it will just run at 1080p, then docked it will use DLSS to go up to 4K.
This thing is gonna be so hard to find this holiday. I can't, it's gonna be wild. Like it's
Slomo, you know you got an inside source, brother. You ready to come back home?
What are you talking?
You ready to come back home?
Good. Look, Nintendo has to provide a game I would like to play. And real quick, Indie Gamer, thanks for rocking out with us for a while, man.
We got
have a good night, sir. And take care, man. No,
let me
Nintendo
get what's the name? Gaming Addict with the $2 super holler. Hit that like button, guys. Really appreciate you, Gaming Addict. Keep putting out those amazing videos, man, and keep grinding. Go ahead, Slomo.
I was gonna say, just Nintendo hasn't provided any more games that I like. Now, as you know, I'm not a big fan of Nintendo's first-party games. I haven't really cared too much for them in well over a decade. I did get my Switch though because they were getting some really good second-party exclusive games created by third-party developers like Platinum and Fire Emblem from who makes Fire Emblem? Can't remember. Anyway, like Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Astral Chain, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Those are the reasons why I bought my Switch. And then it seems like after Fire Emblem came out, I started to not see as many of those games. Though Bravely Default 2, I'm kind of like I would play Bravely Default 2, but it's not. I don't want to play it enough that I need to go ahead and go get me another Switch again. You know, so it's like I'm waiting for that game that's just like it's only available on Nintendo's platform, and I gotta play that game because I don't wait. I don't wait for games I play. So yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, the hardware thing is great though. The hardware is having hardware that's capable of doing third party games the way they are. The way they perform and look on the other consoles is what I've been wanting them to do for a really long time. So this is definitely good.
Yeah, I truly think it just really comes back to how much does Nintendo actually care about third party support when it comes to the quality of those games? Because like Leviathan was saying earlier, Nintendo, their games are the only ones that truly run at the experience that they really want them to run on that system. They really build their platform for for their developers. They don't really think about so much third party. They say, we're going to be so successful with our system that third party are just going to find a way to put their games on our system. And that's something they've been doing, and people, guess what? People have been buying them, and not as much as they've been buying them like on Xbox and PlayStation and on PC, but a extra sale is a sale, and it must be beneficial to them enough to be able to jump through the myriad of hoops they got to jump through to get that thing working on a Nintendo Switch. But that also goes back to why I always look at some developers side eye when they talk about the how the experience of putting games or the whole Xbox Series X and Xbox One X or Xbox Series X conversation goes, where it's holding back it's holding back the generation, but they'll still put games out on the platform that's way less powerful and not say a word about it, but that's just part of the conversation that happens. So it's just really good to know that Nintendo is probably going to move forward with this, until we actually hear this actually come out of their mouths, which I don't know what's taking Nintendo so long. They need to go ahead and just announce this thing being a thing, but I guess they want to keep selling regular Switches, which I don't blame them. But
Yeah,
yeah,
especially
go ahead.
because supply is a big issue. So they, even though they could in theory release Switch Pro this year, it might not happen just out of supply issues.
That's true. Yeah.
So like that's the thing, is they don't maybe want to necessarily commit to a release this year, especially right now because it's only March. So in say 6 months, they might have insufficient supply and only be able to sell 1 million or 2 million at launch. Then that's really bad. Like, sure, there's supply issues with the PS5 and Series X, but not to the extreme where people are still going to be looking for these consoles for 2 years down the road, which might possibly happen for a Switch Pro, especially because Nintendo doesn't know how to do supply and demand correctly and have never done that well. So,
That is very true. I remember back in the day, we used to always think, I think it started with the Nintendo 64. We used to always think they were intentionally shorting supply so that they could say, oh, we're all sold out. Like everyone wants one. It's just like, but no, but you just only released like five. It was, I'm pretty sure that wasn't the case back then. But when you're a kid and you kind of just look at it like, why is it that you never have enough supply? You
Yeah.
never have enough systems.
A lot of
But
that falls on retail too, because like if you think about, because this whole craze started with the Wii and how scarce that was. I remember we got ours 6 months after launch, and my wife just happened to, we worked at, this is when we worked at Circuit City, in that system. We was at work one day, and then all of a sudden we walked to the back and they said, yeah, we got Wii's in today, and we just bought one because it was like a unicorn. Like, what? Just buy it. I don't care if we don't want to use it right now. Just buy it because it's rare. And but a lot of that has to do with the retail too, because a lot of these systems be sitting in back rooms or sitting in warehouses waiting for the right time, or they look to see when the most traffic is going to hit their stores, so they can actually, get even more traffic on top of the systems they're going to sell, because they already know that these systems are going to sell, and they just want to get as much traffic to their websites to do it as possible. That's why you always see these pop-up sales. It's not like Sony is sending these systems out every day of every week, but it seems like every week we have the same company releasing the system, not on the same day, but a different day. That's because they already have a lot of this stuff in stock, and they just kind of parse it out to, hit plans and stuff throughout the weeks and stuff like that. But it's real interesting the way that Nintendo's been moving the last couple of generations. The Wii was a huge success. The Wii U, not so much, mostly due to marketing. I always wonder what the Wii U would have actually done if they would have marketed that thing properly, because it was really a precursor and a build up to what we have today. It was like literally the brainchild of what the Switch is, but more confined to your house, and they iterated on it to the point of the system that we have today.
very, very
yeah, that's the problem with having poor naming schemes for your consoles, is it can be hard to exactly tell which version you should buy. It's why PlayStation sticks with the very generic PlayStation 5 or
Yeah.
PlayStation 4. It's so you can clearly tell which version you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
There's no marketing confusion about it. Ooh, this is the next system in this long line of PlayStations we've released. Xbox is even worse than Nintendo at this. Like, I I can't even give a good guess of what Xbox would call a system after the Series X because
I got some guesses. I got Xbox Series M. I
Oh,
got Xbox Series P. They're clearly just gonna go with letters like from here on out. It's gonna be Xbox Series and then Z, Y.
oh
I,
Lord, here you
I
go.
guarantee you they'll be dumb enough to use the letter L, which is just going to get like everyone who wants to troll Xbox just loving that. Like the Xbox Series L, like they finally, people are going to be having all kinds of memes for that. But
yep.
like, yeah, I'm fairly certain that's where they're going with it. Or they could just go completely a different direction and just start like doing stuff completely different again. Because if you look at like every single generation, it's like whoever was in charge has decided I'm gonna do a whole new naming scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Forget what we
Yep.
did before. New naming scheme now. Xbox 360. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
If you go 360 direct, you start right back where you started. Like why 360? Like what is the purpose? Great console though, but why, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, then now Xbox One. Why do Xbox One when you've had two consoles already? Like, make it make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Make it make sense. But no.
Wow. Well, Slomo, you would. Well, like I said, that's the one thing I will always give you. You always go back to Nintendo can literally wow us for an entire generation, and then next thing you know, the name of the system could be something that's so ridiculous that it literally
The
puts off all.
Nintendo Raptor.
Right. It's like, what's this? what's the Raptor? What does it do?
Right.
No, man,
Oh,
that's
man.
that's crazy. But we're coming up to the last few moments of the podcast and stuff as usual. You guys have been amazing in the chat. Really love the conversation and stuff going down there. While I turn it over to the rest of the guests and everything, into slow mo when it comes to things that they just want to bring up that we didn't get to. If you guys got any questions, please put them in the chat. We'll definitely answer as many of those as we can before we get up out of here. But Slow-Mo, I know there were some things that we didn't put in the rundown that you definitely wanted to bring up, or even you, Leviathan. Was there anything that you guys wanted to bring to the table that we didn't discuss today?
Oh yeah, real quick. The Future Game Showcase
Didn't
was
watch
earlier
it, so
today.
tell me about it. Didn't watch it.
Well, for me, I love indie games, so I saw a whole bunch of stuff that I already was aware of. Some new things that I hadn't seen quite yet before, but they showed Game Deck, which is a cyberpunk isometric RPG where you're a detective and you're like investigating all these crimes. It's really awesome for what I've seen before because there's a lot of branching storylines with it. Your choices really, really matter. That is, I think they say it's coming out in September. I think I saw that was the release date, but they showed a little bit more of that. They actually showed a new trailer for Kingdom Bridge of Spirits, which I'm really hyped for. Can't wait to play that in August. August, right? Yeah, August.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
just
it
other
is.
games that I've seen before, but really some really good indie scene games. And I'm also excited for tomorrow's ID at Xbox because I think what we're probably going to see from that is that Necromundo Hired Gun first person shooter that was shown like a week ago or so. On they did their first reveal trailer for it. I think we'll probably see more of that. For But I mean, finally we're starting to get to see a couple of not conferences but showcases for showing us some new games already. So it feels like the year just started, but it's actually 3 months in. It's like almost into April, so it's pretty cool so far. Leviathan, did you see the Future Game Show?
No, I was very busy, so I didn't end up watching it. So
Yeah.
I might check out some of the stuff that was shown off during it.
Yeah, I the only reason I was even able to catch it is that I was sitting in the barbershop,
Getting
and
that fresh cut.
yeah, getting I
You had
got
your son.
I
You
got
had your son with you too.
Yeah. Both sons had to get their haircuts too. We were all, it was starting to get a little wild, man. So we had to tame it. But yeah, I was just sitting there, just waiting for their cuts to get done, and just was kind of watching indie gamer stream a little bit
Shout out to
earlier.
Indie
He was
Gamer.
streaming it, and but yeah, like I think that's well, I said this actually last thing on Brat. What I really enjoy about indies is that you have a lot of creativity and there's a lot less of the boardroom interference when it comes to the innovativeness that a developer can actually get to in a game. And it's not about the visuals. It's not about, even though visually a lot of these indie games are getting better as the engines that they're using, free engines by the way, like Unity and Unreal, are getting better for them to be able to work with, as far as not having to
Yo,
need so many resources or so
what up?
many people available to get the same level of visual fidelity that a big AAA studio with like 200 people are getting.
Okay,
But
yeah, I'll look around.
all that said, the creativity these games are showing is something that I'm really excited to get my hands on. And there's a few other games that I've been kind of like really like watching and keeping my eye on that haven't been quite shown yet, haven't been shown in a while. So I'm looking forward to that too.
Yes, I think I might have plugged it if I didn't plug
But that's it. That's
I
it.
think I tried to unplug the plug in my chart.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I could talk about, but each one could probably take up a full podcast worth of
Oh
stuff.
man.
So.
Well, give us the extra
No,
Cliffy
that's
Cliff Notes
it's cool.
version
I'll find it.
of one or two of them.
Yeah, no, I'll find it. If it's here, I'll look
Yeah,
around.
so let's just speed run through it. So, Halo Infinite, they did their new, like, latest Inside Infinite post today.
Yes, I
Yeah,
did
she
see
ain't
that,
mad
yeah.
about it. She's like,
Yeah,
you probably just
the
unplugged
best
it, but we just trying to
part, at least
find
for
it.
me, about it is they included an audio clip of Halo 5 and Halo Infinite's
All
battle
right,
rifle.
well, I'm about to go up there and look. I'll
Of
call you in a
which-
minute. I'm about to go up there and look though.
At least from my
Love you.
experience of playing the games heavily, is I can tell the Halo Infinite battle rifle audio is longer than the Halo 5 one. So that means the 3-round burst of the battle rifle potentially is slower, like the full burst, which would be back to Halo 3. With Halo 4, they have the amount of frames it takes. So it makes the audio sound like you're really just firing a single shot weapon. It now sounds like an actual 3-round burst gun again. And so that might be something interesting. And I just noticed that from listening to the audio that
Yeah, I listened to the audio too, but I did not. I didn't get that from it. I'm glad you said something. That really gets me thinking about it, because I didn't think of it on that level. I just noticed that the Halo Infinite a 3-round burst sounded, I thought, better. I thought it sounded clearer. It sounded more like a little bit more authentic, like an actual gun with sound. I was like, all right, well, they're definitely making improvements, all across the board on the audio side of things. I didn't finish reading everything that was in it though, but because again, like I was super busy today. But I do like that their interviews where they speak with the developers, they can kind of divulge a lot of information to everyone in those little blog posts.
yeah. So I can usually pick those kind of things out pretty easily, just because I play Halo at a very competitive level. So I'm like learning like the actual frame times of like battle rifle bursts are all very important, especially if you want to compete against pros when you're matchmaking, so you can get shit on because you're playing solo. So yeah, so I can usually pick those things out pretty well, especially like Infinite. Like the gameplay also indicated that they're using Bloom, but once you individually break down the frames, there's no Bloom in Halo Infinite, except for like automatics like the assault rifle, which is a good thing. And they're just using the bloomed out reticles as a way to telegraph to you, the player, of when you can fire
Oh,
your
okay.
gun again.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
like there's loads of high level things like that that I can see, or like sprint out speeds, just I could spend a full like podcast just breaking down core gameplay mechanics at like a pro level for Halo and how that changes Infinite's gameplay. So
Mm.
that could always be something in the future, or I could do that on somebody else's podcast because I'm going around.
We definitely gotta have you back. You know, at some point
Yeah.
we can definitely get a little bit, especially on say some of these weeks where gaming news is like super slow and there's really not much else to talk about. Oh, we can make it we can make it a Halo show. We could do
Oh, I'm
that.
always down for a Halo show.
Yeah, I'm a big stickler of like the lore and stuff and just the different Spartan generations and everything. So like, I mean, we could get deep in the weeds. I know we ain't got time tonight, but man,
Yeah,
we
get
can do
deep in the
that for certain.
weeds, read all the books. Man, I'm all down for that. I read even I saw your comment that somebody thought when you said even the books that suck you read. I was like, man, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Right
Some
there
of
with
them,
you.
that like that Forerunner saga. If I
Uh
if I could, uh, I would metaphorically
oh.
set it on fire. I would.
Which
It
one
was is. Hmm.
which one's your favorite?
Uh, Fall of Reach,
Yep,
maybe.
same. It's the first one, and it's like the way that it reads.
I like the Cold Protocol as well.
Yeah, that's good too.
Uh,
I like Harvest, the Harvest one. I forget the
Harvest was good.
Harvest.
Yeah, yeah. Harvest gave you some details to. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the Flood. The Flood gave you details to the actual campaign, Combat Evolved,
Yeah.
that you may not have actually. Or was it Flood? Was it First Strike? I can't remember. Man,
Well, Harvest
I
was I forget, it was the book with with Sergeant Johnson on the front of it.
yeah, it's Contact Harvest. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that
Context
one was good. That
Harvest
was because that was first contact with the
with
Covenant.
the
Yeah,
Covenant. Yeah,
yeah.
really like that one too.
Ghost of Onyx was pretty awesome. I
Hmm.
enjoyed that one too. Just to switch gears a little bit, it's probably one of the best things they ever did was the Hunt the Truth podcast.
Oh
That was
yeah, I
freaking.
loved it. I wish it was
Oh my
I
god!
wish the game lived up to that story.
It was so good. I think part of my disappointment with the Halo Guardians campaign was due to how hyped up Hunt the
Yeah.
Truth got me, and I wonder behind the scenes what like happened there, like what was the overall plan with it, and then what was like, was there a miscommunication between people who were producing that and versus the people who were actually doing the game and the story in the game, as well as like the marketing, because the marketing gave an impression of something that really wasn't really present in that campaign. So it's just like I would love for it to be a chapter in a Jason Schreier book one day
Yeah.
where you get all the juicy details, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can give my best guess just from being in the Halo community and knowing their development long enough is what happened is they talked about how they wanted to do a new game engine for Halo 5, but they ran out of time. So they were carrying all the technical debt of previous Halo games, which they were already having issues with it in the 360 era, which they
Hmm.
then had to carry to the Xbox One era. So I have a feeling the reason they did the Master Chief Collection initially was to buy themselves time so that they
Mm.
could delay Halo 5 until 2016 or 2017 so they could finish the game. But what happened is Master Chief Collection released in such a broken state,
Hmm.
and it
Hmm.
was such a bad PR for the Xbox One to not really having a good Halo experience on it that Xbox pressured them to release Halo 5 in 2015. So, because there's certain areas of the game, like the level design, it
Hmm.
it's clearly like you can tell like saying Helios is clearly someplace they put a lot of effort into, but then like
Yeah.
Meridian, i- you can tell Meridian was a rush job, and there's still a lot of lore areas that kind of tie into like the Oni aspect of what Halo 5's campaign was going to be of like Master Chief. Like there's lore set up for that that just isn't paid off in the game. So I have a feeling that they were targeting the combat evolved experience where you play 2/3 of the game, and then in the last third, it's a plot twist reveal
Mm-hmm.
that Cortana's still alive. Like that's just how the game feels like it was originally intended to be.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened is they didn't have enough levels designed in time. So they just skipped to the chase and just said, okay, Cortana's back. Like like if you remember where they reveal that Cortana was still alive, that was in the
Mm-hmm.
second mission, and it was
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
this
It was.
weird like vision thing. Like it wasn't actually like Master Chief found something that oh Cortana's actually alive. No, it's like oh I just got a feeling, bro.
Yeah, yeah. It was
You're
just
right.
no build up to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just my take, and from like being around the Halo community enough, I can tell when a Halo game is rushed. Spoiler alert, it's most of them are usually very rushed. Like Combat Evolved, you can just tell the transition, like when it goes from keys to the library, where they ran out of development time because libraries just copy paste assets and build
Yeah.
4 levels,
Yeah. Most people
and
hate
then
library.
the 3 levels after that are just reskins of 3 previous levels. But that's because Combat Evolved, 90% of the game was made in the last 12 months. Just think if they did that with Infinite. They just showed the gameplay demo that they did and be like, oh yeah, we're starting the game in 3 months. It's going to be ready for fall 2021.
Yeah, that's true. Because like
And
even if the last mission in Combat Evolved I mean it's back on the Pillar of Autumn, so it's essentially the same assets that they already had for the first mission when the game first starts. It's all there. Like it really saved them a lot of time to be able to just for a good significant portion of that mission they just have you back with assets that they didn't have to recreate.
yeah,
Makes a
and
lot
the
of
good
sense.
thing about it for Combat Evolved is they already knew that they were going to be crunching hard to make that game because they needed to make the original Xbox's launch. So they basically started building the game and knowing that they were going to have to rush the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Halo 2, they didn't know that when they started making the game. So that's why Halo 2 is a cliffhanger. And then
Oh, with
Halo
the
3,
grave mine, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Halo 3 had a more smooth development, but there's some issues with like Jason Jones leaving and taking a hiatus and then coming back in like the last year of Halo 3's development to put it back on track. Reach was mostly fine, but it came at the cost of a lot of gameplay mechanics. Halo 4 was a literal rush mess. Halo 5 obviously was a rush mess.
Mhm.
Like at this point, Halo just is known for being we built the game in the last year and a half of development. So Infinite might actually be the most polished Halo game ever,
Mm.
ironically, and
Well,
that's because of the
I
year
certainly
delay.
hope so. Yeah, with everything that has happened with the reveal last year and how long it's been since they have done a release of Halo, of a new Halo game,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot riding on this one. So I'm certainly hoping that it's definitely the most polished with the least amount of like bugs or issues and I hope they can kind of continue on with like Halo Guardians multiplayers because like the Halo Guardians multiplayer is really underrated. Like I
It
know
is.
people don't really give it the respect it deserves. It's really good, and so I kind of hope Infinite is kind of hits the ground running on that. It doesn't need like some tweaks here and there, and doesn't need the Halo community to come in and say, hey, look, you really should do this here. You should really make some adjustments to this weapon, and this other weapon here is just killing the meta. That kind of stuff. Like, yeah, we just hit the ground running with it would be great. But yeah, let's. I think we're going just a tad bit over, but let's go ahead and wrap things up. Leviathan, thank you for joining us, man. It was really a pleasure having you here, letting us know some things about tech that we didn't know about, and also just talking Halo with us as usual. Where can the good people in the chat find you, man?
Okay, I'm on Twitter at Leviathan Gamer 2. Leviathan Gamer 2. So you can just go there and find me. I'm also like I'm assisting Optimus Code for some of his YouTube content, which you might be able to see me there if you go watch his content down the road.
Yeah, shout out to Code,
Yep.
the elder statesman of the gaming community.
The elders.
Yep.
Yeah, Leviathan's Twitter handle and everything is in the description of this video. So just look under Special Gates, you'll see all his information.
Yep.
Yep. And yeah, really appreciate you coming through, brother. Definitely when Halo Infinite comes out, or when we get close to, we definitely need to just have that Halo podcast, and I definitely want to have you be a part of that. And Slomo, we got to get ready to start planning this Mass Effect live stream that we gonna end up doing, brother, because you already know that's getting closer and closer, and I'm getting more excited every day. But Slomo, tell everybody where they can find you at, what you got going on in your channel, and how far away from you from that 1,000 subs are you?
I am 30 subs away
Woo!
from 1,000 subs, and 30 subs away from being forced to play Bugsnax on live stream. For all of you sadistic viewers who love to see me in pain and torture. But no, I'm kidding. It's going to be fine. I really appreciate everyone that has subbed in the past week or two. You guys are awesome, and do check my channel out. I make videos about your typical gaming topics that come out today, but I think I do it a little bit differently. I like to focus in on games that I'm really excited about, and I also like to just discuss some topics and with some different opinions on what's going on in the gaming industry and the games that we all love to enjoy. So check the channel out. If you haven't subbed, please sub, and appreciate you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, as always, it's always great to be here with you, Slomo. You always bring the energy, even when you're tired and you feel like the world has basically given nothing for you that day, because it's like, man, I just want to take a break and rest. But we can't do that on Thursday because it's DPS time, and I really appreciate you always being here, bringing your energy, your A game, and bringing all of the knowledge and stuff that you bring to this conversation that we like to have. For myself, Gaming Forte, as this is the channel that you're on, same place on YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live. Got a couple of videos coming out tomorrow. Going to be talking about some of the stuff in more length about what we talked in the podcast today, because your boy need to get back into the grind of actually making content again. But no, outside of that, man, it's just been a great show. Check us out on DPS podcast next week on Slomo's channel for episode 28. And I do apologize for some of the frame drops in this video, because this is my first time doing What's the Name, and me and Slomo are going to definitely work on making sure that is a lot better next week. But outside of that, guys, you have a great and amazing week. Play some games and take care of yourself. Talk to you guys later.
Peace and hair grease.